Hi everyone, this is chapter 4 where we're going to talk about something called loops in Java. A loop, as its name insinuates, is that something that goes around and around and around. There's a couple different types of loops. This particular video is going to concentrate strictly on the while loop. The while loop can be used for many different things, but one of its uses is for input validation. So we're going to start this chapter by looking at one of our recent programming problems from chapter 3. We'll start with the bank transaction program and see how we could use a while loop to help make our program a little bit better. So I'm going to switch over to NetBeans. As you can see, I copied most of the program from chapter 3 into a package called chapter 4. We ask the user to enter the initial balance for the checking account. We read that into the checking balance variable, which we define as a double. Now, in the past, what we did was if the checking balance was less than 0, then we went ahead and wrote out an error message, but then we exited the program. It might make more sense to allow us to ask the user to try again and have like a loop that keeps asking them until they enter in a valid value. So let's see what that would look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a while loop. I'm going to say while the checking balance that the user types in right above, checking balance, is less than 0, meaning that they entered a negative amount. Then I can indicate a block of code that I want to repeat. So if the checking balance was less than 0, then I want to tell the user that they need to try again, and this time to enter a positive value. So I'm just going to say, please enter a positive value for checking balance. And so that message is going to get written out to the screen, but I still need to read in the new value that the user is going to type. So don't forget that even though I read it in once up here, inside of this loop, and that's what this is, it's going to keep it continuing, inside here, I need to read in the new value that the user types. So I'm going to say checking balance equals in.next double. And then I'm going to close my curly bracket. So very simply, I'll say while checking a balance is less than 0, please enter a positive value for the balance. I'll read in the new value. If they entered in a positive balance to begin with, it will just never execute these two statements right here. All right, I'm going to copy that because I'm going to do the same thing for the savings code. So I'm going to do Control-C. And then I'm going to put it right down here below where I asked them to enter their savings balance, and I'm going to paste it. And I'm just going to change the word from checking to savings so that when I get to this part of the program, I am also checking to make sure that the user entered in a valid savings balance. Okay, let me go back up here and just change this wording so that the user knows what we're looking for. And as always, I want to test to make sure that what I just did is working. So I'm going to run the program. I'm going to hit run anyway. Please enter initial balance for checking account. Let's see what happens if I try and put in a negative number for my checking balance. It says, please enter a positive value for the balance. So it went into our loop and it gave us this message right here. So I can do it again. This time I can go ahead and put in a positive value. I'll put in 1,000. And now it's going to ask me for my savings account balance. And again, if I do a negative 500 and hit enter, it says please enter a positive value. So then I can put in a positive 500 and my program will continue. It asks me next, enter the account you'd like to withdraw from if you're doing a withdrawal. Okay, so this is one example of how we can take an existing program that we have and add some while logic to do some input validation. All right, let's take a look at another example. We also worked on a program to read in the month, day, and year of a birth date. We read in the month as an integer, the day as an integer, and the year as an integer. But I wanted you to print it out so that you convert the month from a number to the word, January. So 01 would be January, 06 would be June, 12 would be December. So again, a user might type the wrong value. For example, when they're typing in the month, they might accidentally put in a 13. So we want to also add some validation logic here. At this point, let's add in the validation logic for the month. So I am going to, after I read in the month value, I'm going to add a while loop that says while the month is greater than 12. So if it is greater than 12, I want to tell them they made a mistake. But I also want to check, so I'm going to say or, the two straight lines, or month is less than or equal to 0. If the month is greater than 12 or less than or equal to 0, there's an error. So I am going to print out an error to the user. I'm going to say system.out.println, and I'm just going to say invalid month. And I'm going to tell them to try again. That way they have a chance to go ahead and put in a valid value. Now, at this point, if I run the program the way it is, and I put in an invalid month, it should give me this message. So let's go ahead and give it a try. We're just going to kind of do what we call module testing. We're going to test part of the program first to make sure it works and then continue on. So I'll run it and I'll put in 13 because that's an invalid month. Oh my, it's saying invalid month a lot and it's not stopping. Okay, I'm going to click the little button over here. This is what we call an infinite loop. What happened was I don't ever change the value of the variable month. So it's in this while loop and it just keeps executing this code right here because month is never changing. I forgot to read in a new value. So if I can fix this by putting month is equal to in.next, and actually we're going to read it in as an int, so we want to keep that consistent, in.next int. Now what's going to happen is when I give them the invalid month message, they're going to input a valid month. Let's try it again. Make sure that part of it is fixed. So I'm going to enter in a 13 and I'm going to hit enter. That looks much better. One message and now it's waiting. You can see the cursor flashing. It's waiting for me to enter a valid month. And I'll just enter a 1 and it's not going to do anything yet. So I'll put 1, 2, and 3 because it's expecting me to enter in the day and the year as well. Alright, so at this point we double check to make sure the month is not valid. Let's copy our code and check for the day and also check for the year. Okay, that is how we can use a while statement to check for input validation.